Hello YouTube, I hope you are all well. Welcome back to Matt's Country. Today we're going to be talking about shotguns. My name's Matt, I've got a couple here to show you. Let's crack on. Now the principle today, as with all my videos, one take, explain the basics. It could be you're about to go clay shooting for the first time, or you've just been, you come back and you didn't quite understand all the banter. Useful to know some of it. So let's talk about it. This is a 12 bore over and under or under and over shotgun. What does that mean? Well, you can tell what the over and under or under and over means if you've got so much as half a brain, because the barrels are over and under each other. 40 years ago, you'd have seen an awful lot of those side by sides. Not so many now, sadly. Some shotguns have a single barrel. We're not going to go there either. We're just talking about the basics of understanding what a shotgun is and does. Now, a minute ago I said 12 bore. What on earth does 12 bore mean? Well, the bore, that's the diameter of the barrel, has to be a certain size. If you take 1 pound in weight of pure lead and chop it into 12 pieces and make each one of those a perfect sphere, it would fit perfectly down a 12 bore barrel. 12 bore shotgun cartridge. Leave it here because it'll make life easier. 12 bore. There's also such a gun as a 20 bore. Unsurprisingly, a 20 bore is smaller because 1 pound of lead chopped into 20 pieces gives you smaller bits, and each one's made into a perfect sphere and it would fit down there. It's at this point we should point out that you do not shoot a single piece of lead. That's just how the bores were measured. And it's also worth pointing out that our American cousins call these 12 gauge and 20 gauge. I'm not getting into that. Let's just stick with what we are. Okay, how does it work? What goes down in the hood? Well, when this is put in there, which is not happening indoors, and the gun is straightened and a trigger is pulled, what comes out of the end is not, repeat, not a bullet. It is shot. This is a shotgun, and shot are small metal balls, many of them, sometimes hundreds of tiny ones. You can choose the size of them. There's all sorts of options for this, but it's a shotgun, not a rifle. And it's smooth bore all the way down in there. It's going to be nearly impossible. No, I'll give up. All the way down in there is smooth. There you go. There is no rifling. It's not a rifle. Right, let's make sure we understand what goes on then. A hammer in this gun hits that centre cap. The centre cap goes bang. That sets off the large quantity of explosive in the shotgun cartridge. That blasts all of the shot out of the end of the gun. As it leaves the gun, all those little tiny metal balls start to spread out. The further away they get, the bigger the gaps in between them and the slower they've gone. Up really close, it will destroy everything. They're really dangerous. You do not mess around with shotguns. They are utterly deadly. But what's important to be aware of is by the time you get to 40 yards away, the balls are so small, in most of them, not all, you can buy the larger ones, but they slow down a lot. So you might, when you're shooting pigeon or pheasant or partridge or whatever, you might want to choose to try and keep those shots squeezed together. And in the end of the barrels are metal squashers. These are removable and they're called chokes. Chokes. They squash the ammunition as it comes out to make sure it doesn't spread apart too far, and you get to choose them. Now, there are two barrels. Barrel 1 is the bottom barrel, barrel 2 is the top barrel, and that's because traditionally, when you pull the trigger on the first barrel is in line with the top of the stock and you get less recoil. I can't tell the difference, to be honest, but I'm just telling you what the history is. The top barrel is further above than that, and therefore you get more recoil because there isn't a natural place for it to land. So barrel 1 is the bottom barrel, barrel 2 is the top barrel. And what's very, very cool about these, because they've only got one trigger now, but you've got two barrels, is that the safety catch, this lever at the bottom, you can choose left or right. You can choose which barrel goes off first. So because you've got different chokes in the end, squeezing the ammunition together or letting it spread out quicker. You choose which one according to the distance of the shot. Very useful. I'll be back to that in a moment. Now, the 20 bore is clearly smaller. To be fair, this is a much prettier gun, much nicer piece of walnut, beautifully oiled by the wife. It has to be said that a 20 is a lot smaller, and you can see, look at that. 1 pound of lead chopped into 12 pieces turned into a round sphere would be that diameter. 1/20th would be that diameter. There's also a shotgun called a 410. And guess what? It's not measured as in the same way as 12s and 20s. That was 0.410 of an inch. I think that's a 36 bore from memory. 130 is, I don't know. If I'm wrong, you're very welcome to slag me off. I'm not editing. This is all one take. I'll call it a 410, and I think you probably do too. Right then, so let's move back to how the old girl works. We'll take this puppy apart. The simplicity of a shotgun never ceases to amaze me. This is beautiful. Almost every shotgun you're ever going to see does this. There'll either be a switch there or a little switch there. It takes that off. Those curved shapes on the end are what held the barrels on, because these things here were pushing down via this. When we open the gun this time and do that, it comes apart. And that's it. It's just, it never ever ceases to make me smile, the simplicity of a shotgun. They are a beautiful, beautiful thing. Now, let's have a look inside here. See the little spot there and the little spot there? They're the hammers. And they are going to hit those caps. So that's how that works. This whole metal action is connected to the wooden stock with a bolt, and you get to the bolt through the end of the stock. This has got a stock extender on. I've put this on here because the gun's a bit too short for me, and with it on it's now a better size. But there's a bolt up inside there. They're very easy to get to, and that whole thing can be taken away for maintenance. There's a couple of springs in there that make these hammers go off. And also, it has to be said that when these shotguns are put back together, like that, and I'm going to making sure it's still empty and no badness has happened. I'm going to fire them. Going to be a lot of, oh, don't dry fire it. Oh my God, what's he doing? Oh, there's nothing there to catch the pins. I know. But hey, it's a tutorial. People need to know. Now this has been shot, let's pretend there are 2 empty cartridges in here. They have ejectors. And when we open the gun, and this always goes to my right, as I open it, try and get it close enough for you to see it, watch. Ready? Ejectors. Those 2 puppies fire the empty ones of these out. Some guns you can turn them off. In fact, some guns you deliberately buy them without them, because it is really, if you're in a hurry and it's firing them out and you're reloading, it's useful. But when you've finished and you look around in the long wet grass or the snow, you can't find them. So some guns you have a choice for ejectors. And if you're very cool, you eject them, you either catch them in your hand or you catch them in your pocket or you dump them into the dustbin behind you at the playgrounds. I can't do any of that stuff. Just not good enough. Go and see the pros for that. Right, so let's recap. This is a under and over, or over and under, 12 bore. 12 because it was long ago measured, a pound of lead chopped into 12, each one turned into a ball, would fit into there. You can adjust the chokes. You can choose which barrel fires first or second according to the chokes. You can choose the size of the shot in the cartridges and indeed the weight of them. And the more there is, the more recoil you get. You can take it apart relatively simply, which also means you can store them in a small space, and they're safe like that. I mean, that is a very safe gun. When you walk around the playgrounds with your shotgun open like that, every single person knows that A, it's empty, and B, it can't go off because it's not even straight. Shotguns, an amazing, amazing thing. Not just for clays, not just for game, not just for pest control, but as a thing. As an engineering thing that we've got, there's 1,000, 100,000 combinations of them, probably a million combinations, probably more than a million, but they all work on the same premise. And if your one of these doesn't suit your gun, and you miss a few things, you can put a big piece of paper up, draw a spot, load it, aim, fire at the spot at different distances and see where the lead shot goes. And if there's big gaps, you can just buy a different brand and try them again and find one that matches, that suits the gun. They are amazing, amazing things. I love them dearly. Here's the depressing stuff. Mass production means that 12s, which are the biggest and heaviest, are the cheapest, and that the 20s are actually, they're often more money. They're very rarely the same price and they're never cheaper. And these little bad boys cost a bloody fortune. But there you go. That's the costings of production. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope there are some questions answered for you. If you've got questions, hit them down there. You're very welcome. Other people might answer as well. Let's not get into a flame war with the noobs. Make sure if anybody asks questions, everybody's nice about it because it helps. And shooting's an important sport for all of us. I love it dearly. I'm sure you lot all do too. Thank you for visiting. Welcome to another episode in the future. Matt saying goodbye. Goodbye.